9 hours. That's how young I came up with that Jesus' crucifixion took. Because when I looked up the numbers of how long it takes to carry the cross, and it only mentioned the final 1.5 kilometers took about 1.5 hours. So I rounded up from there and maybe about 9 hours. A minuscule, and I'm not trying to downplay it here, but a minuscule and insignificant amount of time in exchange for eternity for his people. And you know what? You know the funny, amazing thing about it? He'd do it again. If he had to, he'd do it again. I asked my friends and family yesterday what they thought if Jesus could really, if Jesus could escape this punishment coming for him, or if he couldn't. Because I remember in the Garden of Gethsemane, he asked God, take this cup away from me. If there be any other way, take it from me. But then he comes back and he says, not my will, but yours be done. I think that was his humanity. I think a lot of that was his humanity showing through, because he was 100% human, 100% God. I don't get it either, and we won't until we get to heaven. But he was fully human and fully man, or fully human and fully God. He experienced grief, he experienced loss, he experienced suffering, he experienced pain, and it was a lot. I mean, the reason I say with just a lot, there's no words that I can say that can adequately describe what he went through. But I do know he'd do it again if he had to. He had the power to call down 1,000 angels and to get himself down on that cross, to call 1,000 angels to protect him and to answer the mockers and cheerers and scorners and get himself down on that cross. Because they said if he gets himself down from the cross, they be. Even though I think for some people, if Jesus did that right in front of there, they still wouldn't believe. I don't know what camp they fall into, but Jesus died for you, and he'll do it again. What did that mean? Well, we're still saying Christ died for us. What did that mean? That means that he died for you exactly as you are. He saw you as someone worth dying for, with no change to your behavior beforehand. But also, he died for you as you are. He also died for you to be better. What that means is you're perfect in the sight of God. And yes, it's for you, or God called you to something that it's for God. You don't have to change for anyone earthly. The only one you have to prove you don't even have to prove yourself to him, I shouldn't say that. But the only one you need to so gratitude towards, enough to rewrite your lifestyle in Jesus Christ, because He died for you. But what I say is, and yes, it's to change for God, or yes, it's to change for yourself. You don't have to change for anyone. If anyone besides God has a problem with how you're living, how you look, anything like that, then that's their problem. That's not on God and not on you. Because, think of Jesus mockers and Jesus scorners and everything. Not that I'm comparing earthly people to Jesus, but just people can be hateful if you're not up to expectations. But the only expectation you need to meet, which we can never meet anyway, but the only expectation you need to strive for and you need to try to meet are the expectations Christ had for you and the expectations God had for you. Because, like I say, He died for you as you are. He also died for you to be better if the time comes. It's also amazing to me that He died for us. He died for you specifically, but He loves us enough to see us walk away. He had not created, from the moment even before the fall happened, He knew what would happen with Adam and Eve in the garden. He knew about all of that. Nothing surprises God. So, the only thing I can come up with, logically and biblically, is it was all part of His plan. If that's the case, it was all part of His plan. Just so, hey, you have paradise now. But in order for me to fully show that you have free will, I'm gonna place a tree in the garden and see what happens. I know what happens, but just more for your benefit, I'm gonna place a tree among you and just watch it play out. And coming out of that, I have to believe He knew that we'd have a deeper and more fulfilling relationship with Him, because we know what it's like to be without Him. And when you know what it's like to be without something, like you've heard the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think that's exactly the same case for Jesus Christ. I think the exact same case can be made. Ladies and gentlemen, in Christ's resurrection today, because the cross wouldn't have meant anything if Christ didn't raise. With Christ's resurrection today, He extends His hand of resurrection to you. And He extends that same power of resurrection to you. He can give you a new heart. He can give you a new purpose. He can give you a new meaning. He can give you a new smile. He can give you a new reason for joy. An eternal reason for joy. An eternal reason for living. God, all we ask in return is that you love Him and for your heart. Nothing else. All we ask for you is for all of you. 100% your heart. And will we stumble? Will we struggle? Yes. God will still be there. In your tummy and your heartache, God will be there, even when you feel it far away. A few hours of suffering, an insignificant amount of time for suffering for eternity for His people. To God, we were worth it. So to ourselves we should be worth it too. Because God doesn't make mistakes. And you're here because God put you here. Guys, I love you. God bless you. Happy Easter. And I'll see you next week.